What happens when a little girl walks up to Donald Trump inside a Taco Bell? At first, everyone thought it was nothing, but the moment she opened her hand and showed him what she was carrying, the entire restaurant went silent. And what happened next melted millions of hearts. Imagine walking into a Taco Bell on a regular afternoon, expecting nothing more than a quick meal. The smell of fresh tortillas and sizzling beef fills the air. People stand in line ordering tacos, burritos, and nachos just like any other day. It's a scene of normal life. Laughter, conversations, and the familiar buzz of a fast food restaurant. But this time, something unusual happens. The glass doors swing open, and instantly, the atmosphere shifts. The chatter dies down, and for a split second, the entire room freezes. Standing at the entrance in a crisp dark suit with his signature red tie is none other than former U.S. President Donald Trump. Yes, Trump himself, casually stepping inside Taco Bell. Nobody expected to see a world-famous figure in such an ordinary place. Some customers gasp, some whisper, while others quickly fumble for their phones, desperate to capture the surreal moment. The staff exchange nervous glances. Should they continue serving like normal? Should they greet him? The energy inside the restaurant changes completely. Everyone is aware that they are now part of a moment no one will forget. Amid the whispers and flashing phone cameras, one person reacts differently. A little girl no more than 8 years old sits at a table with her mother. Her big, curious eyes widen, not with fear or awe, but with determination. She doesn't seem to see him as a political figure or celebrity, just a person standing right there, within reach. Her small hands tighten around something she's been carrying. A folded piece of paper covered with crayon drawings. To anyone else, it looks like a child's doodle, but to her, it means everything. For a moment, she hesitates. The restaurant feels louder in her mind, her heart pounding like a drum. She glances at her mother, who gives a reassuring nod. And with that, the girl takes a deep breath, pushes her chair back, and begins to walk toward him. Step by step, she makes her way across the floor. People notice her now, watching with hushed curiosity. Nobody knows what she's about to do. Trump, who had just started placing his order at the counter, notices her. He pauses, tilting his head slightly as the little figure approaches. The restaurant grows eerily quiet, as though everyone collectively holds their breath. The girl's hands tremble slightly, but her eyes don't waver. She stops right in front of him, looks up, and with the softest voice says, "Mr. Trump, I made this for you." She slowly extends her hand, offering him the folded piece of paper. Trump takes it carefully as though sensing its importance. The crowd leans closer, phones raised higher, eager to see what's inside. He unfolds it slowly, and then there it is, a simple but powerful drawing. On the paper is the American flag, drawn in bold crayon strokes, with a big red heart beside it. Below are two stick figures, one with blonde hair, clearly meant to be him, and one meant to be her. Above it all are three simple words, written in shaky handwriting. Be kind. For a moment, Trump just stares at the drawing. His face, usually so controlled and serious, begins to soften. The silence in the room deepens. Not even the kitchen sounds fill the air now. Then something remarkable happens. He bends down so that he's at her level. Looking her straight in the eyes, he says warmly, "This is beautiful. You're very special, you know that." The girl blushes, gripping her dress nervously, but smiles. The crowd can't help it. A wave of soft gasps and awes ripple across the restaurant. Some people even clap quietly, touched by what they've just witnessed. Trump carefully folds the paper again, presses it gently, and slips it into the inner pocket of his suit. He pats it, almost as if to say, "This is going with me." Then he calls over the manager and says, "Give this young lady and her family anything they want today. It's on me." The mother, standing nearby, covers her mouth in disbelief. Tears well up in her eyes as she whispers, "Thank you." The moment doesn't end there. Trump stays for a while, talking briefly with the girl, asking her about school, about her favorite foods, even about the crayons she used. He signs the back of her drawing with a note that reads, "Never stop being kind, Donald Trump." The crowd begins to relax, realizing they aren't just witnessing a political figure. They're watching a human moment unfold. Phones record everything, capturing smiles, laughter, and the rare tender side of someone often seen only through headlines. When Trump finally waves goodbye and steps out of Taco Bell, the little girl hugs her mom tightly, her face glowing with pride. She didn't just meet a former president, she gave him a gift that touched his heart in front of everyone. And in the days that followed, the video spread across social media like wildfire. Millions watched it. Some argued politics, as always, but many simply agreed. That girl reminded the world that kindness. As the girl steps forward, the entire room goes silent. The lively chatter that filled the restaurant just seconds ago fades away, leaving only the faint sound of sizzling beef in the kitchen. Even that sound feels distant now, as though the whole world is holding its breath. Every eye inside the Taco Bell shifts toward the little figure making her way across the floor. Donald Trump, standing at the counter mid-order, notices her immediately. His voice trails off, and he turns slightly, his attention now fixed on the child approaching him. At first, his expression is unreadable, half curious, half cautious. The staff behind the counter freeze in place, while the customers in line step aside, giving the girl a clear path as though they instinctively know something important is about to happen. The girl's small hands tremble, but not enough to stop her. Her face carries both fear and determination, a mixture of a child's nerves and the courage only innocence can provide. Clutched tightly in her fingers is a folded piece of paper, wrinkled at the edges but clearly cherished. Colorful crayon marks peek out faintly from the folds, giving away that it's more than just an ordinary piece of paper. It's a message, a gift. Step by step, she moves closer until she finally reaches him. Standing in front of one of the most recognized figures in the world, she tilts her head back, her eyes wide and filled with honesty. For a moment, the two simply look at each other, the towering man in the sharp suit and the tiny girl in her simple dress. The contrast couldn't be greater, yet in that instant, it feels as if no one else in the room exists. In a soft, almost trembling voice, she speaks, "Mr. Trump, I made this for you." Her words are barely louder than a whisper, but in the silence of the restaurant, they echo louder than anything else. Gasps ripple through the crowd, and dozens of phones lift higher into the air, recording the encounter. Some people lean in, straining to hear every word. Others cover their mouths, touched by the bravery of such a small child. Trump lowers himself slightly, bending down so he's closer to her level. His hand extends slowly, carefully, as though he understands that whatever she's holding is fragile, not just in paper but in meaning. He takes the folded drawing gently, his expression softening from curiosity to genuine interest. He unfolds the paper, and as the bright crayon colors are revealed, the entire restaurant leans in as if they too are seeing something sacred. On the paper, drawn with the pure hand of a child, is the American flag. Next to it, a large red heart fills the page. Beneath the heart are two stick figures, one with blonde hair unmistakably meant to represent him, and the other a little girl holding his hand. Above it all, in uneven but determined letters, are two simple words, "Be kind." The reaction is immediate. The restaurant, moments ago tense with anticipation, releases a wave of audible emotion. People gasp. Some smile warmly, others wipe at their eyes, and a few let out hushed whispers of disbelief. Strangers look at each other, shaking their heads at the innocence and power of the moment. Trump stares at the drawing longer than anyone expects. His usually firm and guarded expression softens visibly. His eyes linger on the words, "Be kind," as though they've reached him deeper than the crowd realizes. Then slowly, he looks back down at the girl, still holding the paper in his hand. "This is beautiful," he says softly, his voice gentler than people are used to hearing. "You're very special, you know that?" The little girl blushes and shifts nervously, her hands folding together in front of her. A shy smile breaks across her face, small but genuine. In that moment, the room feels lighter, warmer. The atmosphere is no longer filled with whispers and uncertainty. It's filled with admiration for a child's courage and a man's unexpected tenderness. A few people clap quietly, unable to contain themselves. Others just nod, as if acknowledging they've witnessed something rare, something beyond politics or fame. The drawing, so simple yet so meaningful, has melted the tension in the room. Trump folds the paper carefully, almost ceremonially, and places it inside the breast pocket of his suit. He pats the pocket gently, a gesture that tells everyone watching that this isn't just a piece of paper to him, it's something he intends to keep. For the little girl, her mission is complete. She looks up at him one last time, her eyes sparkling with pride, before stepping back toward her mother. The woman pulls her daughter into her arms, whispering something only she can hear. Tears glisten in her eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming pride of seeing her daughter create a moment that touched everyone in the room. What started as a normal fast food stop has turned into something extraordinary. A little girl with nothing but crayons and courage managed to silence a crowd, soften a powerful man's demeanor, and remind everyone present of a truth that often gets lost in the noise of the world. That kindness, no matter how small, has the power to reach anyone's heart. And as the whispers return and the room slowly fills with sound again, one thing is certain. Nobody inside that Taco Bell will ever forget the moment when a child's simple drawing changed the atmosphere of an entire room. At first, Trump looks at the drawing silently. His hands, still holding the crayon-marked paper, seem unusually gentle for a man so often seen commanding a stage or a crowd. The restaurant, buzzing with whispers and phones raised high, now falls into an expectant hush. People lean closer, recording every second, waiting to see what he will do. For a moment, his face remains unreadable, the same stern expression many recognize from television. But then, something shifts. Slowly, almost unexpectedly, the corners of his lips curl into a smile. Not the polished, practiced grin that so many have seen in speeches or interviews, but something different, softer, warmer. A smile that feels genuine, almost fatherly, as if the drawing in his hands had managed to pierce through layers of politics, fame, and power to touch something more personal inside him. He lowers himself down, crouching so that he's no longer towering over the little girl, but looking at her directly, eye to eye. The gesture alone surprises many. The phones capturing the moment shake slightly in people's hands as they adjust, trying to catch every angle. Parents in the room exchange glances, quietly acknowledging the tenderness of the scene unfolding before them. Looking into the girl's wide, innocent eyes, Trump speaks in a voice softer than anyone expected. "This is beautiful," he says. His tone carries sincerity, not performance. He pauses for a second, still holding her gaze, and then adds warmly, "You're very special, you know that?" The little girl blushes instantly, her cheeks turning pink as she lowers her eyes shyly. She fiddles with the edge of her dress, unsure how to respond. But her small smile says everything. The crowd, unable to contain their emotions, reacts almost in unison. A collective awe fills the restaurant, echoing off the walls like a chorus of warmth. Some people clap softly, touched by what they are witnessing. Others simply watch with misty eyes, silently moved by the simple, pure interaction between a child and a man so often surrounded by controversy. Trump carefully folds the drawing again, but he does it with a kind of respect, as if the paper in his hands is more than just a child's doodle. It's a symbol, a reminder, something he doesn't want to damage or forget. He slips it into the breast pocket of his suit, patting it gently with his hand. The gesture makes it clear to everyone watching. This isn't going into the trash. It isn't being brushed aside. It's something he intends to keep, something priceless. Then straightening back up to his full height, he turns toward the restaurant staff. His voice, now firm again, but carrying an unusual warmth, calls out, "Give this young lady and her family anything they want today." "It's on me." The room reacts instantly. Gasps, murmurs, and even a few cheers ripple through the crowd. Phones capture every second, the story already racing in real time to the internet. The girl's mother, who had been watching from just a few steps away, clasps her hand over her mouth. Her eyes widen in disbelief, and the tears that she had been holding back finally begin to form. She looks down at her daughter, then back at Trump, her lips trembling as she whispers, almost too softly to hear, "Thank you." It is not the kind of thank you that one says out of politeness. It is heavy, emotional, full of gratitude. A mother thanking not only for the free meal, but for the way her child has been treated, with respect, with attention, with kindness that is rarely shown so openly in moments like these. Some customers wipe their eyes. Others nod silently, touched by the scene. The atmosphere in Taco Bell has completely transformed. What started as an ordinary afternoon of quick meals and casual conversations has turned into a memory no one will forget. The little girl, still glowing with pride, leans into her mother's embrace. She doesn't fully understand the impact she's just made, not only on Trump, but on every single person in the room, and soon on millions who will watch the video online. For her, it was simply about sharing something she created with kindness. For everyone else, it became a reminder of innocence, courage, and the simple yet powerful message written in her drawing: be kind. As Trump turns back toward the counter, finishing his order with the drawing tucked safely in his pocket, the restaurant feels different, lighter, warmer. People smile at each other. Strangers strike up conversations about what they just witnessed, and the little girl's mother holds her tighter, whispering words of pride and love. The moment lingers in the air even after Trump leaves, his motorcade pulling away. For those who were there, it will remain a story they'll tell for years. And for those who see it online, replayed and shared across countless screens, it will stand as proof that sometimes the most unexpected encounters can create the most unforgettable memories. And in the center of it all, it wasn't about politics, power, or fame. It was about a little girl, her drawing, and the way one simple act of kindness melted the hearts of everyone around her. What happened next was even more surprising. Many thought Trump would simply take the drawing, thank the little girl, and move on with his busy schedule. After all, he was in a fast food restaurant, surrounded by strangers, and surely had places to be. But instead of leaving, he did something that caught everyone off guard. Trump stayed. He lingered in the restaurant, not as a politician giving a speech, not as a public figure surrounded by formality, but as a man simply connecting with a child who had touched his heart. He leaned down beside her, speaking softly, asking about her favorite foods. "Do you like tacos or burritos more?" he asked with a smile. The little girl giggled, answering shyly, and the crowd chuckled warmly at the innocent exchange. The moment grew even more personal when he pulled out a pen from his pocket. Holding her crayon drawing carefully, he flipped it over and wrote a message in bold letters across the back. "Keep spreading kindness, Donald Trump." He signed his name with a flourish, then handed it back to her. The girl clutched it tightly, her eyes sparkling with pride. For her, this wasn't just paper anymore. It was a treasure, a memory that would last forever. By now, the room was filled with energy unlike anything people had expected when they walked in for a meal. Other customers, who had been quietly watching, began to step forward. Some wanted to shake his hand. Others wanted to share a few words. A few even asked for photos. Trump obliged, but the focus never left the little girl. She remained at the center of the moment, her bravery and kindness shining like a light everyone else was drawn to. The staff behind the counter, initially nervous and unsure of what to do, relaxed and began smiling too. Some even whispered to one another, amazed that they were witnessing something so unexpected. "You never know what a day can bring," one of them murmured to another. "This is history right here." For the people in that Taco Bell, it wasn't about politics. It wasn't about disagreements or debates. It was about witnessing a pure human connection. And in today's world, where arguments often overshadow empathy, that connection felt like a breath of fresh air. The innocence of the little girl reminded everyone of something bigger: the simplicity of compassion. A child who could have chosen to stay seated, to remain quiet like so many others, instead chose to step forward with nothing but a drawing and a message: be kind. And somehow those two words carried more power in that moment than any speech or headline could. The story didn't stay inside Taco Bell. Within minutes, clips began surfacing online. Customers who had been recording rushed to upload videos of Trump pocketing the drawing, bending down to speak to the girl, and signing his heartfelt message on the back. The videos spread like wildfire across social media. On Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, the clips were shared and reshared. Millions of views poured in overnight. Comment sections filled quickly, and what was remarkable was the tone of the responses. Even people who usually criticized Trump admitted the interaction was genuinely heartwarming. Politics seemed to fade into the background as kindness took center stage. One viral comment read, "I don't care what side you're on. That little girl reminded us all what kindness looks like." Another user wrote, "This isn't about Trump. This is about the power of innocence. Sometimes it takes a child to remind us how to be human again." The little girl, unaware of the global attention her small act had sparked, went home with her mother that evening, holding the signed drawing close to her chest. For her, it was simply a moment of bravery, a memory she would never forget. For the rest of the world, it became a reminder that even in divided times, kindness still has the power to unite. The next morning, news outlets began picking up the story. Headlines captured the touching scene. "Little girl melts hearts after brave encounter with Trump at Taco Bell," and "Innocence brings kindness to the forefront." The story became more than just a viral clip. It turned into a conversation about compassion, about how the smallest voices can carry the biggest messages. And through it all, the heart of the story remained the same. A little girl with crayons and courage chose to share kindness, and in doing so, she melted hearts across the world. As Trump finally left the Taco Bell, the atmosphere in the room remained electric. People who had been strangers only moments before now exchanged knowing glances, all silently acknowledging that they had witnessed something unforgettable. Before stepping out the door, Trump paused. He turned back, lifted his hand in a final wave, and directed it toward the little girl who had started it all. His voice carried warmth and weight as he said, "Don't ever lose that kindness in your heart. The world needs it." The words, though simple, struck everyone deeply. It wasn't a rehearsed line, not a speech meant for cameras, but something spoken in the moment, directly from one person to another. And in that instant, the little girl became more than just a child with a crayon drawing. She became a symbol of innocence and the message that the world desperately needed to hear. The little girl, her cheeks still flushed from all the attention, turned and wrapped her arms around her mother. She hugged her tightly, as though anchoring herself after an extraordinary experience. Her mother bent down, pressing a kiss to her daughter's head, tears still shimmering in her eyes. Pride radiated from her face, not pride in the fame or recognition, but pride in her child's courage, her bravery to step forward and share something so pure. For the girl, the moment was simple, yet life-changing. She didn't just meet a former president. She didn't just hand over a drawing. She gave him a gift that touched his heart, and through him, touched the hearts of everyone present. Around the restaurant, people began to buzz with excitement. Customers whispered to one another, replaying what had just happened as if trying to hold on to the magic of the moment. Some shook their heads in disbelief, smiling as they realized they had just witnessed a story they would tell their children and grandchildren. The staff behind the counter, still processing what had happened in their usually ordinary workplace, grinned widely, knowing that this day would never be forgotten. Beyond those walls, the story was only just beginning. The videos captured by phones spread rapidly online, reaching millions within hours. People who weren't there in person still felt like they were part of the scene. They watched Trump wave, heard his words, and saw the girl's beaming face as she clutched her signed drawing close to her chest. For many, it was more than just a video. It was a reminder of what compassion looks like when it comes from the heart. In today's world, where debates and divisions often dominate conversations, the story stood out like a ray of sunlight breaking through clouds. It reminded people that sometimes the most powerful moments are also the simplest. A child's courage, a small act of love, a reminder to be kind. These are the things that linger long after the noise fades. For those who were inside Taco Bell that day, it became a story they would tell forever. For those who saw the videos online, it became a message that transcended politics, borders, and differences. And for the little girl, it became a memory she would carry with her for the rest of her life. The day when her crayon drawing melted the heart of a former president, and through him, millions of people around the world. The truth you just saw is only half the story. Want the rest? Hit that subscribe button. The secrets are just getting started.